Hello BookTube, I'm Jonathan and welcome to Words in Time. Now in today's video we're going to be talking about Ubik by Philip K. Dick. Now I've actually only read one book by Philip K. Dick before this one, and that was The Man in the High Castle. Now I thought the premise for that was really interesting. What if the Allied forces lost World War II? But to be honest, from there the story didn't really build to something that was super satisfying for me. And so I wasn't sure what to expect. The only other introduction that I'd had to Philip K. Dick was some of his film adaptations. So Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049. I don't know if this is a crazy take, but I actually like Blade Runner 2049 more than Blade Runner. So let me know what you think of that in the comments. And A Scanner Darkly, I saw that and really enjoyed it as well. So I was definitely intrigued to read more by Philip K. Dick because of those adaptations, and especially because of the premise for Ubik. So, what is the premise for Ubik? Well, this was published in 1969, but it is set in a future 1992. And in this world, there are people that possess psychic powers, as well as other people that possess anti-psychic powers that prevent the psychics from using their powers. Now, there is also a technology that has been created, which is a form of cryonic suspension known as half-life. When someone is deceased, someone passes away, if they are quickly put into this device, it can retain a form of their consciousness, and that can be activated and even communicated with. So in this world, we have psychics and anti-psychics being used against each other in acts of corporate espionage. And when the security team of a company known as Runsiter Associates is ambushed, the surviving members start to experience these strange shifts in reality and the nature of time. And alongside that, we keep on hearing about this mysterious store-bought product known as Ubik. So there's a lot going on. I needed to share a bit more of the premise than usual because even though this is only around, we love doing the flick-throughs on this channel, it's only around 220, 230 pages. Skinny little book, but there's a lot packed in here. So I wanted to start with the writing, and something you'll notice off the bat is that each chapter starts out with a little advertisement for this product, Ubik. And I wanted to read you just one. We'll just do the first one, so no spoilers or anything, because I think they're quite interesting. Friends, this is cleanup time, and we're discounting all our silent electric Ubiks by this much money. Yes, we're throwing away the blue book. And remember, every Ubik on our lot has been used only as directed. So I enjoyed these. I think they're quite funny, the way they satirize product ads, and they also help to create this mystery of what is Ubik. Now, in terms of the prose, I think this book takes kind of a surreal path in terms of the nature of the story, but the prose is rather matter-of-fact, and I actually think that works in its favor, as it's a great example of show don't tell. Because as these strange things start to happen, Dick doesn't spend a lot of time overly describing them. He just presents them to you, and you have to react. As you're reading this, as an audience, I was thinking, wait, what? Did that just happen? Is this real? And I think that's kind of reflected in how the characters are feeling at the same time. So I really enjoyed that approach. And in terms of the pacing, I feel like for me, the first 50 pages or so, I thought, okay, well, we're kind of establishing the world. I'm not entirely hooked just yet. But once we started to get those shifts in terms of the nature of time and reality, I was totally hooked. I wanted to know what was going on. I couldn't put it down, and I smashed through the last 150 pages or so. For me, this kind of took the opposite progression to The Man in the High Castle, whereas I thought that was an amazing premise, but then for me, my interest kind of slowly dwindled throughout the course of the book. Whereas this was like, okay, this is kind of interesting. Oh wait, this is really interesting. This book just ramps up, and hopefully you enjoy the mystery as much as I did. So in terms of the characters, our main character is Joe Chip. And Joe is an employee at Runsiter Associates, and he is terribly in debt. and almost nothing seems to go right for Joe. He seems almost constantly frustrated and annoyed and irritated, and he's quite a fun character to follow on this narrative because every roadblock they encounter just seems to annoy Joe. He's constantly thinking like, can you believe this? Fine, I guess I'll just have to solve this myself. And so I really like Joe as a character, and this book, I would say, focuses more on the ideas than the characters, but there were some other distinctive characters as well. For example, Glenn Runsiter, he's the owner of Runsiter and Associates, and every time he pops up, it kind of feels like he knows more than he's letting on. And there's also a young woman named Pat Conley, I believe, and she's kind of mysterious, and she is in possession of some pretty powerful abilities. So as I mentioned, this book focuses more on the themes than the characters. And so what are some of those themes? Because there's a lot going on, and a lot of them are open to interpretation, but one that I wanted to talk about was consumerism. Because Joe, he's in terrific debt, and yet he's constantly trying to scrounge up money in order to pay for things like coffee and cigarettes. We also have Ubik, which is constantly being sold to us as this cure-all product. The events in this book come about because of acts of corporate espionage, and even one of the first things that starts to change when reality and time starts to shift is the appearance of coins. So I loved how this all tied together, the way that money is at the center of society and the story and just life in general, and how that was reflected both in the story, but things that were pretty relevant to social issues of today. I thought were really, really well done. Next, I wanted to talk about death and spirituality, because with the invention of the technology of Half-Life, it starts to change our relationship to, or our understanding with, the cycle of life and death. And it makes us question, what is the nature of life and death and God and our spirit and what goes beyond if we have this new state that we've introduced, and we're able to interact in some ways with the people that are in some ways beyond. So I love the questions that raised about meaning and what was real and what was not real, and I think this built up to a spectacular ending, because in regard to the ending, I think it is somewhat open to interpretation, but for me, it wasn't in an anticlimactic way. I thought the man in the high castle left a little bit to be desired, whereas this one, even though it didn't lay it out on a plate for you, it got me thinking. It was a little bit like 2001, A Space Odyssey, where I got to the last page, just kind of sat there for a few seconds trying to process what the heck had just happened, and then I ran straight to the computer, straight onto Google. Ubik ending explained, please. Not because it didn't make sense, I had an idea of what would happen, but I was so excited to find out what other people's theories were when it came to theories to do with drugs or mental state or religion or spirituality. I thought the ending was so rich, there was so much to it, there was so many different ways it could have gone, and it really just got the cogs in the old brain turning. I thought about this after I finished about it, the day after, the week after. I'm still thinking about it, and that's one of my favorite things about reading, and sci-fi in particular. It's why it's one of my favorite genres, because of the crazy technology, the big ideas, the big concepts, the big themes that really get you thinking, what if? So, as you can tell, guys, I probably enjoyed this book, but what is my rating? Well, overall, I'm going to have to give Ubik a 9 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. I had no major problems with the book. Minor, tiny things would be a few pacing issues perhaps at the start of the book, and maybe I could have gotten a little bit more emotionally invested in some of the characters, but this book is really about the ideas, and that's absolutely where it thrives and succeeds for me. And I haven't read that much Philip K. Dick, but I will be reading more now. Definitely going to be putting Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep and A Scanner Darkly on the schedule for 2022. So, there you go, guys. Have you read Ubik? What did you think of it? Did it blow your mind like it did mine? Let me know what you think of this book and of PKD and whether I sold it to you. And just lastly, who do I recommend this to, or would I not recommend it to anyone? I would recommend this to pretty much everyone. The only minor exception being if you are averse to words like surreal or psychedelic or drug-induced, this might not be the book for you. Although those things aren't overt. I wouldn't say it is, overtly trippy. There's no actual drug use. It just kind of feels that way because it's blowing your mind so much. As always, guys, I really appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe for more book reviews and sci-fi content coming soon.